Hi, my name is Abby Ruggieri, and I'd like to talk to you about the problems with treating abuse and neglect cases in the hospital. So, I'd first like to start out with some background information on what abuse and neglect is. Abuse can be divided into multiple categories, and these can be physical, sexual, and emotional. Physical abuse is a type of abuse that can be physically seen. This can be strangulation marks, burns, scratches, bruises in abnormal places, anything like that. And when children are physically abused, they act different. So they could be more standoffish, more aggressive, more kind of clenched together. Sometimes they don't want to participate in any activities. They seem just distant. And then with sexual abuse, this is like any inappropriate touch made by an adult or another child without the other child's permission. So this signs of that could be bruises around the genital area. That could also be them being standoffish, kind of like detached from everyone else. You can learn about sexual abuse with the child when they tell you about it, or you can sense it through their parents' background, just like physical abuse or emotional abuse. And with emotional abuse, it's kind of like neglect, but it's more of an action. So the parents' behavior, like rejecting their child or belittling them or terrorizing them, are different examples of that. Children can show signs of speech disorders, just lack of physical development, failure to try and be their best, things like that. And with neglect, that's basically when a caretaker or a child care provider like fails to give the child what they need. This could be medically, this could be food, clothing, shelter, anything like that. When just like different things that every person needs. Signs of neglect can be poor hygiene in a child. It can be like excessive sleepiness, lack of energy, just things like that. Um, and I'd like to talk about how to respond to a child whenever they like confide in you. So to do this, you want to remain calm. You don't want to scare the child. If you freak out, they're going to freak out even more. You want to listen carefully because you don't want the child to have to retell the story over and over again. And you also don't want to make any promises, like if their parents are going to actually get in trouble from this, if they're going to be taken away, if they're going to be safe, all those things, because you do not know and you have no control over that. You also don't want to ask the child to tell the whole story over and over again because it's going to re-traumatize them, which is not what you want at all. And then you want to document anything that was seen or said while talking with the child. And when reporting abuse, you want to call your hotline right away. It can be the local one or the national one. You want to tell them all the information that the child gave you, and you want to provide your name so in case they wanted to call you back and ask questions, that was available. You also want to tell the operator if you believe the child is in immediate danger or if it's an emergency situation. You also want to provide information about the child that you already know, like family dynamics, how to get a hold of their parents, different things like that, background information. And you also want to tell the operator what abuse you believe is occurring. So if you see signs of physical abuse or sexual abuse or emotional abuse, you want to tell them that. And now to move on with the issues with forensic child interviews or anything like that in regards to child abuse in healthcare settings. So a lot of the times when a child is in a healthcare setting and an interview is trying to be taking place or a screening, most of the time children will get scared and tense up and not want to talk because they're frightened it might happen next to them. So they're scared that their parents might come and get them and beat them again or abuse them again. They might get in trouble. They might not like trust in the person that they're talking with at that time. Another thing that could cause an issue is if a child's not able to tell the story with all the facts, which can happen because things can get a little hazy. And also, if a children's not comfortable, that could also be because they're scared of being in a hospital. Children are scared of big hospitals with equipment and all that kind of stuff because they don't really know what's going on. And now for screening for child abuse in hospitals, only a few things exist, and it's not child-focused. It's more of case-focused, like what happened to the child. It's not how we can help the child. So examples of this is child stress disorders checklist, pediatric intake forms, parental screening questionnaires, ACEs screening tool for children and adolescents, and ACEs family history and health appraisal questionnaires. So basically that's just getting information. It's basically for educational purposes so that people know what's going on in the community and what's going on in that certain situation. Something that we came across researching is for a new technique during interview screenings is therapy for child abuse and neglect with dogs or animals. When I read through one of my empirical articles, this was a whole thing about how children's heart rate decreased, their blood pressure decreased when a child or an animal was present. They were allowed to touch them and kind of focus their attention on them while they rethought of like what happened and retell the story to whoever's interviewing them. There's many positive effects, especially with sexual abuse investigations. So this is a little dog named Griffin, and he is a dog who is an animal like therapy dog, and he's a part of a new program at the UPMC's Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, and he basically follows the families and children around during the whole interview process and court process. So basically that's their main goal, is consistency because of all the inconsistency that they have had. So children can touch the dog during play or court. They can just have it next to them, so that way they're less stressed, which means that the interview person or the court will get more info. And also, if they're less stressed in a medical care setting, they will get more evidence. The other technique that I found was sand play during psychotherapy for treatment of abuse and neglect. Kids can like squeeze the sand, run their fingers through the sand, everything like that, which can distract them while they're rethinking and retelling their story. So this has had many benefits, and in the next couple slides, I will show you some of the sand play that occurred during their research in one of my empirical articles, and it has been a major success, and they're trying to implement it more in different healthcare settings. So in figure 1, it's rigid play. That means that there's like cops and people surrounding a person. So that can mean like that could just be a child telling their story through that. Or on the second one, it's mobile play. So where they're actually taking the pieces and moving them around and playing with playing each person as a character. The third one is violence play. So this is where people, like the children, are attacking other characters to represent the violence that they have had in their life. And the fourth is an example of fantasy. So when children are making up stories, that means they're trying to get away from what's going on in their life. And that is it. Here's my resources, and thank you for watching.